Here we'll look at a quadratic equation and some of the ways to solve these. A quadratic equation is anything that can be written in this form, ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0, where a is not equal to 0. So the main thing is we do need to have an x squared term, and that's what makes it quadratic. The first way we'll look at solving these is using what's called the zero product property. This states that if a times b is equal to 0, then either a is equal to 0 or b is equal to 0. We can use this in solving quadratics by factoring, which would then give us a multiplication that's equal to 0, and then setting each one of those factors equal to 0. For example, 4x squared minus 4x. If we want to factor this, we can pull out an x, and we're left with x minus 4. Now we have a product of two things that's equal to 0. My zero product property tells me that either x is equal to 0 or x minus 4 is equal to 0. In this second case, I can add 4 to both sides to get that x is equal to 4. And this gives me a solution set of 0 and 4. There are two possible answers to this equation. The next equation, x squared plus 7x plus 10 equal to 0. Once again, we want to factor. I need two numbers that multiply to be 10 and add to be 7. And we can see that 2 and 5 satisfy this. 2 plus 5 is 7 and 2 times 5 is 10. The zero product property then tells me that either x plus 2 is equal to 0 or x plus 5 is equal to 0. I can subtract 2 to get a possible answer of x equal to negative 2. And then on the right equation, I can subtract 5 to get a possible answer of x equal to negative 5. Therefore, my solution set is negative 2, negative 5. The next one we'll look at, 3x squared equal to 2x plus 1. It's important to note that this is not in our standard form for quadratic equations. I will need to subtract the 2x over. This gives me 3x squared minus 2x equal to 1, and then I can subtract the 1 from both sides to get 3x squared minus 2x minus 1 equal to 0. In order to use this property, I need everything on one side of the equation, 0 on the other. The only two numbers that multiply to be 3 are 3 and 1, so that tells us what these first two terms should be. The only thing that multiplies to be 1 would be 1 and 1. And then we just have to watch our signs. And we'll actually have 3x plus 1 and x minus 1. We can double check this by checking our outer product, which would be negative 3x, and our inner product, which is x, and 3x, or negative 3x plus x does give us the negative 2x that we needed. So the first equation would then be 3x plus 1 equal to 0. I can subtract 1 to get 3x is equal to negative 1, and then divide by 3 to get x is equal to minus 1/3. The other equation, x minus 1 equal to 0, I can add 1 to both sides and get that x is equal to 1. Therefore, my solution set, negative 1/3 and 1. The next way we'll look at solving these equations is using the square root method. This states that if we have a term x squared is equal to some number p that's greater than or equal to 0, then either x is equal to the square root of p or x is equal to negative square root of p. We often abbreviate this by writing x equal to plus or minus the square root of p. Basically, what this says is if the term on the left is a squared term and the term on the right is a non-negative number, then we can just take the square root of both sides. For example, x squared equal to 3. According to the square root property, this means x is equal to either the positive or negative square root of 3. So my solution set is negative root 3 and positive root 3. This example looks a little bit different x minus 4 squared equal to 9. But the main thing to notice is that the thing on the left is something squared. So I can take a square root. I then have x minus 4 is equal to, and I do have to take the plus or minus square root of 9. We know what the square root of 9 is. It's 3. And then from there, I can add 4 to both sides to solve for x. I end up with x is equal to 4 plus or minus 3. 4 plus 3 is 7, and 4 minus 3 is 1. So my solution set is 7 and 1. One more example. X plus 2 squared minus 8 equal to 16. This one we're going to have one extra step. We need a squared term on the left and just a number on the right. So we'll add 8 to both sides here. The left then becomes x plus 2 squared. The right becomes 24. We can then take the square root of both sides. We get x plus 2 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 24. We can rewrite this further and simplify. 24 is the same thing as 4 times 6. So this is plus or minus 2 root 6. We can then subtract 2 from both sides. And we get that x is equal to negative 2 plus or minus 2 root 6. This tells me that my solution set is negative 2 plus 2 root 6 and negative 2 minus 2 root 6.